CQ, 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 and welcome to the 599 Signal Report. I have a special guest with me today. It is Ed W4EMB. Ed, how's my signal sounding today?
599, Ron, coming through strong, loud and clear.
Ed, we got a lot to talk about today, but first, let's start at the beginning. How did your amateur radio and Morse code career begin?
Ooh, two different questions there. Thanks for asking, Ron, and thanks for having me today. It's really special to be invited to a podcast. My amateur radio started, my dad, he was KDA-EJ, he's passed away, but I was overseas in the military, and my dad sent me the Gordon West study book and CDs. And I loaded the CDs on my computer, and I just put it on loop play. And I would literally come in my hooch after patrols, and I would hear Gordon West talking, and I just let it play all the time. And yeah, that got me interested. I had lots of questions, of course, and I was ready to go. As soon as I got back stateside, took my test and just jumped in both feet and got into, of course, the sideband, the mobile, the HTs, like everybody does. And the CW portion, I tried for years and years to learn CW. I've been checking into a group here in Clarksville called the Flying Pigs. Every morning here in Clarksville, A4PIG is ran by John, and his call sign is Kilo Mike 6 November. He's been a great Elmer to me. But I've been checking into that now 6 or 7 years. But I didn't know CW. And our response is the same every morning. Good morning, John. You're 5NN, HW ? K. And I had written it out on a 3x5 card with dits and dots. And I would just look at the dits and dots and send it. And I thought I was the man because I could send those dits and dots at 26 words a minute on a paddle. But when John had a doctor's appointment and Terry ran the net, I didn't know how to say, good morning, Terry. So I would just say, good morning, big long pause, And I tried everything. And then lo and behold, another fella named Stuart, AK4EX, he challenged me to join the LICW club, and I joined it. I said, I joined your club. And I got into it, and their curriculum there was just outstanding. It started to stick. They really do a great job at the Long Island CW Club to build a curriculum that works. And I didn't know DIT from DA. And yeah, so that got me into it. I wanted to give back to that group for being the group that finally got through this guy to get me learning my DIT, actually knowing the code. And so I taught for a little while with them. And and now I went back into student mode because I know me, I'll make everything a job. So I put a mark on the calendar and I said, 15 months I'll teach, but then I want to get back to being a student because my goals changed. At first, I just wanted to learn enough to go do a CW activation for a Parks on the Air because I wouldn't have to haul so much gear. And then after I learned the code and really started enjoying it, then I kind of decided I'd like to do more than just a POTA. I'd like to get into trying a rag chew, trying some special events and things like that. And it's just been going from there. Yeah.
So let's go back to LICW because, I hail from LICW. Sounds like you learned the code from LICW and they tapped you on the shoulder to be an instructor. Can you talk a little bit more about your instructorship and how that all came to be?
They didn't quite tap me on the shoulder. I'm a military guy. And so when I was sitting through class, I paid attention to how they ran the class because, we instruct our soldiers. And so I paid attention to the blocks of instruction. And I was and I thought, well, this is easy. So I said, hey, can I be a teacher? And Tom said to me, well, how about you learn all your letters first? Because I was about 3 weeks in. And I said, okay. I actually turned on my camera and I recorded myself giving myself a BC1 class. And then I wanted to make sure I didn't have any bad habits. And so I gave it to Tom. I said, well, if I can't be an instructor, can you at least watch my video and let me know if I'm doing anything wrong so I don't teach myself bad habits? And he goes, yeah, I guess. So he watches my video. Well, then I get a message from Mike that said, hey, meet me in Zoom. You ever feel like you're going to the principal's office?
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, oh, man, what'd I do? And I go to Zoom, and there's Mike and Tom both cross-armed looking at me. And they said, we'd like you to go ahead and be an instructor. And I said, okay, I promise I'll learn F and L and X and all those others. And so they gave me the class, the 7 p.m. Monday Welcome to LICW class to teach. Thought, instead of having Tom who's a phenom, he's like, maybe it's a good idea to have a person that's started their journey teach so I could relate with the students. And that worked out wonderfully. And that was another reason why I quit teaching too, because after 15 months of teaching and doing Parks on the Air, I wasn't at their same level either anymore. And I think they passed it on to another person because that worked out really well, having a person that could relate with those students walking in the door so fresh.
Absolutely.
So that's how I started the teaching. Was I just asked if I could teach, got told no till they went, oh, wow, okay, yeah, I guess you could teach. But I understand their process. And later on, we did come up with a process for vetting instructors. And then actually, I became an instructor. I would meet with potential instructors, and I would put them through a rehearsal one-on-one. And then I would critique their class and then give them a thumbs up and turn them back over to the crew, who would then do another review, and they'd ask them some questions and then pat them on the back and go, congratulations, you're a full-fledged instructor now. So they have an instructor course laid out just to make sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music. And I like that too. It's not about preferences because we all learn a little bit differently. But I think that when you're in a group that has so many classes, I mean, if you look at the LICW schedule, look at the calendar, there's BC1 class every day of the week, BC2 class every day of the week.
Every day.
But you need the instructors to be on the same sheet of music so that if you go to a Monday class and a Wednesday class, you're learning you're on the same page. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's very important. And I didn't realize that is the prime time, 7:00 on Eastern on a Monday I've been in there and had 30, 40 people in that class.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had 2 screens full of people. And I honestly, I liked it better than a small group. When you have a great big group, it's easy to just pick people when it comes time for student interaction. When you have a small group, you start picking people starting to bow out. They're like, oh, phone call, got to go. Because they're like, 1 out of 4, I got a good chance of being picked. I'm out of here.
That's right. That's right. I can't confirm nor deny that I've left the class because of that. So you are naturally a teacher, and you are also a YouTube star, and you have a YouTube channel that you do give advice for learning CW. Can you talk a little bit about how that all came to be and how the YouTube channel?
Thanks for the plug. I don't know about a YouTube star, but I'm no Thomas Witherspoon or some of these other guys, but that is who was my inspiration. I really wanted to get out and go do Parks on the Air. I really wanted to have some resources to practice to see if I was ready. And so I would listen to Thomas Witherspoon's videos, and I would try to copy call signs because that was the hardest thing, obviously.
Absolutely.
And then finally one day just dawned on me, I'm sitting there trying to head copy for some reason. I don't know why. And it dawned on me, wait a minute, call signs is the one thing we do write down. So I grabbed a pencil and paper and then finally got to the point where I'm getting this. I might not have got it when they sent it, but when Thomas would reply, I could get it on the reply, maybe. So I thought, man, I should make a YouTube. And so that, because I was so thirsty looking for more resources. I had Thomas Witherspoon, Aaron Bowman, W4EMB, Evan, K2EJT out there doing it. So I thought, hey, let's add one more to the mix because I know I was thirsty looking for more. So I started mine with that intent was, hey, watch my videos just to have another resource for grab a piece of paper, sit down, practice your call sign copy practice. And then I made some playlists on my channel. I have a playlist called Learn CW Group 1, Learn CW Group 2 playlist, and they go right along with the LICW classes, how the letters are, letter groups. And I did that because some people who haven't heard of LICW, maybe before they take the plunge, they want to try before they buy a deal. So just to show them, look how easy this is. Grab a pen and paper, watch Learn CW Group 1 and give this video a try. It's 10 minutes. 10 minutes of your time to learn 3 letters. And if the process works for you, hey, then you can join LICW and continue watching.
Right.
And then after the Learn CW Group 1 and 2 videos, then I made a playlist of states. All 50 states broken down into 5 groups at different speeds, 10 each. So 10 states, and so forth. And then I did some random call sign videos as well. And I got a lot of feedback. I got some folks from over the pond. It surprised me. I didn't know my face went international. My apologies. I should pay a tariff on my likeness going out there. And so I had a request for international call signs as well. That's tough, actually. I don't think we realize how easy we have it here in the States with AK, N, and W being call signs. But those over the pond call signs, especially when it's like some of them start with a 2 and have another number in there. So so I did some playlists and I got a lot of feedback from that.
Yeah, very cool. So you mentioned it already, so we might as well go there. Let's talk about POTA. POTA is, I think, changed the face of amateur radio. You obviously are addicted and love POTA.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about POTA and what is it about POTA for you?
Sure. For me, the Parks on the Air program, I think, just totally rejuvenated my ham radio hobby. After being 15, 17 years in, you've done it all kind of thing. You did the sideband. I did the PSK31. I tried FT8, did the WinLink email. But then POTA came along, and then with CW, I realized, wow, a 5-watt radio, and I can make DX contacts. Like I'm getting into Europe and South America on 5 watts. This is that hooked you right there.
Absolutely.
Once you do that, you are hooked.
Absolutely.
And then being CW, it just rejuvenated the hobby. And then the Parks on Air program with all of the accolades. If you're about the wallpaper where you can hit print and hang them up on the wall if you like, but I love the awards that they stick in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, it's not necessarily about the award, but what it does for me is it gives me a goal to work towards. So currently I'm working towards, there's a local park to me about 45 minutes away called Land Between the Lakes, and I'm working towards my Kilo award at that park. I got about another 325 to go, and I'll have a Kilo there. And I just finished a Kilo at the Fort Donaldson National Battlefield. So it's not about the awards as much as it is, well, once you've done it, now what? So it kind of gives you something to try for. And just, hey, there, did that. What's next? Another Kilo. I also love that they have more than just that. So the other thing I've done is I've done a 5-park rove. I've done a 10-park rove. And that was a challenge. And
know.
So I was up before dark. I met with a friend of mine that I actually met through POTA. That's another wonderful thing about POTA. You can go to the Parks on the Air website, click the little yellow dot, hit more info, and see who's been in your park. And, I contacted a guy. He was a sideband guy, and I contacted him. I go, hey, what are you doing in my park? And he was a sideband guy, and I'm a CW guy, and he made mention of that. He said, it's okay, I'm sideband or whatever. Anyways, I got to talking to him. I said, hey, I'd love to see your setup. Regardless, sideband, CW, doesn't matter. What do you use for radio? What do you use for antenna? How do you set it up? Sharing ideas is the wonderful thing about this idea, seeing how other people do things, because you might see theirs and then emulate it, or you might see theirs and then it might spark a new idea with you. And so I met with him and come to find out he's in my son's unit. My son's in the Army here at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And he's actually, he was the brigade executive officer. So he's like the second highest ranking guy in the whole brigade. That's pretty high. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty neat for when my son found that out. He's like, he's who?
You met with who? Yes.
So that was cool. And so I challenged him to learn some CW, and oh man, he hit the ground running. He's a phenom.
Oh, great.
He jumped in there, and now he's nothing but CW. I mean, he might do some other things, but he's always pinging my ham alert K4ZSR and just getting after it. And so it's really neat to see that. But we did a 10-park rove, very challenging. And then I noticed this new thing that came up, this Parks on the Air news and information website thing that's come out. Something hit anyway. And now they have this thing called the Pack Mule Award coming out.
Uh-oh.
Have you heard of this?
I have not.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I seen a video by Shane. Sorry, Shane, forget Shane's call. He put out something like, I'm going to be a POTA Pack Mule. So basically 100 activations where you have to move a certain distance away from your car. And I think at the moment it's a half mile, but I still think they're shaking the dust out of it.
Okay.
I've been, I guess, more picnic tables on the air, POTA. But my goal last year was actually to go to Land Between the Lakes and walk the trail they have and do a walk and activate. Yeah. But having some changes here at home and just trying to find time between schedules, things like that. Yeah. But so that's next for me as far as POTA goes. I'd like to get pedestrian mobile and walk into the park and make some contacts. Yeah.
Pedestrian mobile and being a pack mule. It sounds all good. 100
activations half mile from your car. So that's not a one-day thing, is it?
That's definitely not a one-day thing, and it's definitely a lot more weather dependent, especially up here in Western New York, where we don't get a lot of days without snow in the winter. So that'll be a challenge for us. So you said it already, but you talked about community. You, by chance, haven't met many people doing CW at all, have you?
No, tons. It's been great. Yeah. Besides, you get to meet people in the LICW community.
Of course.
And I'll name drop. I don't think they'll mind, but I've met Marcos, K8ARE, and Stuart, KM3STU, and Patrick, KF4LMZ, and Chris, N8PEM, and Ryan, AC4NK. And then you get to talk with them, and then next thing you know, you're like, hey, you want to do a meetup? Yeah, sure. And Marcos and he came from Ohio. He came down here to Tennessee. We activated a park. I've been up to Ohio. We met again. We actually did a meetup, rented an Airbnb. We went out on an island in Lake Erie, activated the island park, and then activated some parks around over a 2 day period.
Oh, very cool.
Then he took a trip. He also has another hobby. He likes to ride bikes and motorcycles. So he did a dirt bike thing out in Utah. But on his way home, I said, hey, let me know when you're hitting St. Louis, because it's about a 3-hour drive.
Okay.
So he let me know when he was about 3 hours outside of St. Louis. So I took off to go to St. Louis. And we met in St. Louis. We did the Gateway Arch Park. And then since we're right there near the border, we jumped over into Illinois, did a park there. And then on the way home, so yeah, met up with him, went back up to Ohio, met with Chris in 8 p.m. And then Marcos came down to Tennessee, and my buddy Pat came over from South Carolina, and we met up at Norris Dam State Park. It was about the same drive for all three of us. And we rented a cabin and did an activation. And yeah, meeting people I would have never met if it weren't for CW and in the Parks and Air program or LICW. So it's just so great to expand like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just so great. You just meet and network and build. And I think you mentioned the word fellowship before. I don't think that was the word you mentioned.
So,
can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. For those who don't know, I was happened to meet this fellow named Ron W2ELS and through CW.
Totally.
We were talking about other operators, and Jim came up in 4JAW. He's another gentleman that Marcos and we went to Louisville, met with Jim. And that's exactly what that was. Straight up just fellowship, just sitting there. We put the radios down and just talked and meeting new people. And he's just a wonderful human being. Yeah.
Sounds like a great guy.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah.
Going back to your YouTube channel, you built an antenna. Do you like to homebrew? And talk about homebrewing, building things.
Sure. Everybody has their shtick in the hobby. And that was mine, was homebrewing antennas. I really love to make antennas.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, on the front of my QRZ page, I have an antenna. I call it the Ed tenna, and it's on the top corner of my QRZ page. My son is standing next to me. He's little back then, but I've made about 50 of those things since then. And it's just simply a piece of PVC pipe about 10 inches long, and it has 4 eye bolts that stick out of the top of it. And I wrap it about 20 times with a piece of coax, and I hook the one end of that coax to an SO239 connector, wrap it around that piece of pipe, 20 wraps, and then up at the top, I split that coax, and I took the center conductor and put it to one eye bolt, the shielding to the opposite eye bolt. And then I connected the other 2 eye bolts as well to that same setup. And then I took that 10-inch piece of pipe now and set it on top of 3 CamoNet poles, so it's 12 feet in the air.
Okay.
The 4 eye bolts that stick out of the top, they are hooked to the coax.
Right.
So when I hook wires to it to hold the pole in the air, the wires are the antenna. So the guide wires holding the pole, that is the antenna.
That's the antenna.
So it's in an inverted V, and I cut the wires for 20 and 40 when I made the original antenna. As silly as it sounds, I used my Ranger handbook from the Army to learn how to cut wires for 2, 3, 4 divide by frequency. And then that's a thing we did there in the Army when making field expedient antennas. And yeah, so I made this Ed tenna, and somebody saw it and wanted it, and I made another, then another. And of course, they progressed over the years until I got to the final design where all fancy looking with heat shrink and all kind of fancy stuff and all the stainless steel parts, because it was just a portable antenna. But I actually left it out in my yard for a year. That was my only HF antenna I had. So that's what got me into home brewing, was trying to make an antenna for here at home. Then I got into the infed half wave. That's been my latest set of antennas that I made. I put a video on my YouTube there. I had some shorts coming up to it. Hey, here's your parts list that I'm going to use. And then I ordered those same parts. I knew when they were coming in, so if anybody else was following along. And then I put together a video of building the antenna and then testing the antenna. It's about a 30-minute video showing how I used my analyzer to test it and cut it and trim it. And then I went out and used it. And the first 2 days that I used that antenna, I made 5 DX contacts to Europe on each day off of 5 watts from a picnic table here in central Tennessee.
Very cool.
And so that hooks you right there.
It does every time.
Yeah,
it does every time.
Yeah.
So you talked about 5 watts, and I don't think I've seen you with a full-size radio. What is it about QRP? Why do you love QRP so much, Ed?
I know that if my buddy Marcos was listening, he'd giggle right now, because he'll throw up a radio, he'll be on 20 watts, and I always poke him in the ribs. What are you doing? QRP, buddy. QRP only. I like the challenge of it. I could go out, I could sit here at home with a 100-watt rig and talk where I want, pretty much. I have a hex beam at 50 feet here at the house.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Japan and New Zealand on the big tower here at the house. Now, I haven't gotten Japan or New Zealand on 5 watts out in the field, but also I'm also in Tennessee as well. So that's a little bit rough. But it would be a challenge later on. I don't know, like the Buddy Hex or something like that out in the field, or a home brewing. Nothing's off the table. But I enjoy the 5-watt challenge, actually.
Yeah.
That, and I found that with a smaller kit, smaller battery, I can last longer on 5 watts. I don't have to have the carry requirement. Because one of my goals in trying this Parks on the Air was, you learn, in the old days, all we had was field day once a year. And if you think back to your first field day, when you set up your equipment, how long did it take you to set up? How many trips did you make to your car? So I wanted to go from car to picnic table in one trip. And so I found out I could do that with QRP. I have a small little range bag that I pack all my gear in. And now that I've I won't say perfected, but now that I've gotten better at it, now my goal is to see if I could even get a little smaller with my bag and try a little bit different equipment. So that way I can even make that carry easier, because my next goal is to do that pack mule thing where I'm walking into the woods.
Walking into the woods. Very cool. Can you talk about your current POTA setup? What's your favorite? Just, I'm going to grab something and run out to the picnic table. What's that setup look like today?
In my vehicle, I always have my bag. In the bag is, right now, it's one of 2 radios. I either have the KX2 or 3 in there, and also my Pentec TR45 radio. Love that thing. It might not have the higher bands. That would be one thing I wished it had, with the higher bands. So that way I could hit the 10 meters and such with that. So that's why I like the KX2 or 3 for that. My all-the-time go-to, though, is usually the KX2 or 3 and that Pentec. And then my always in the vehicle antennas are my Chelegance MC750, which it's a telescopic whip. And I bought the tripod option with it. And it comes in a case. For those that don't know, it looks like a pool stick case. You unzip it and it's that small. So it's not much to carry at all. It's just like you're carrying a pool stick in a case. And then, of course, the in-fed half wave, along with a throw line and a weight. I've never been a tree guy just until recently. I also, in the backseat of my car, back in my vehicle, I have my mast. I have a 33-foot mast. And I've been a mast in-fed half wave guy. Yeah. And I would just clip the wire to the mast, pull on it like a big fishing pole, and lean it against a tree. Mm-hmm. And I usually put the feed point at my picnic table with a bungee cord. And do it that way. And then I always use the 30-foot of coax. And even when the feed point right here at my table, I still use 30 feet of coax because I don't have a counterpoise on my in-fed half wave.
Okay, that's your counterpoise.
So I use 30 feet of coax, and I have 2 pieces. I got the Messy Poloni stuff, the POTA Flex 7, but I also have some ABR Industries 240U with the yellow covering over it. And when I got the ABR Industries, I ordered it with the beads on one end. So I'll put the beads on my radio end and then the non-beaded side on the antenna side. And I'll always lay that coax out and back to me. I don't coil it up. I lay it out on the ground and then bring it back to myself. And I'll typically try to lay it perpendicular or 90 degrees to wherever my in-fed is pointed.
Okay.
Don't know why, just where I started.
It gives you 3 dB gain. Just claim it.
Oh, okay. And so I thought it would be in the direction that my coax was laying, but I've actually found it to be in the opposite direction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the setup. And then for a paddle?
Oh, yeah, because we only have one, right?
Yeah, you only have one paddle, right?
I love my Bametech TP3 key. I have that. And then my key that I've been using here recently has been my Pico Palm single lever. And I like that. I dial backwards. I dial with my thumb. And what I love about the Pico Palm and even some of my other rigs that I use, I have some antique rigs that are really cool. I have a QRP Plus, Index Laboratories QRP Plus rig. You'll see one by Thomas Witherspoon. It's a black square thing from like the late 90s. And I also have an SGC 2020. And sometimes remember how to make a dit da or da dit. It's just easier to flip the key upside down. And with the Bametech key, I can just hold it upside down when I hold it in my hand. My Pico Palm has the magnet little thing that you can actually pull off and flip over and put it on the top. And it's exactly the same. And those 2 keys, yeah, that's pretty much, I think those. Oh, And I did get one from Japan. I ordered a key from Japan.
Ooh.
J1SUR makes the
Okay.
Kuru Soba key. So for those that can't see it here on the podcast, it's circular in shape, and it's about 1.25 inches in diameter with a single paddle that sticks out of the front, and then 2 little turning knobs on the side for adjusting gap, and a magnetic base, plexiglass top. So it's very much like the Bamatech TP3, but you can see down through the top, but it's round instead of rectangular. Really like this key. So I'll use that.
Did you go to the website to order that key? How'd you get that key?
So I found his website, and I had to translate it to English. And then I asked him, how do I buy a key? He said, and he obviously Google Translate back to me. He says, send me money. And he said, in yen. So I go, okay, how much yens? And he says, what key? So I'm like, this key. And so he told me how much yen. So I just got online, did the PayPal for the appropriate yen. And he emailed me back and he said, you must wait 1 month, maybe 1 month and a half, because I am old man. And I said, for a handmade key by an old gentleman, I would be more than happy to wait. Absolutely. And about 1.5 months later, I got it from Japan, beautifully packaged, wonderful warranty card, everything in there that from a professional company, but he's just a one-man band.
Very cool. And last but not least, what's your exclusive batteries you typically use?
Okay, yeah, the batteries I use exclusively are my Bioenno batteries. I started off with the Bioenno 12 amp hour long rectangular. Then I also have a 3 amp hour that I bought. And then, of course, my buddy, Pat, KF4LMZ, he's like, hey, Ed, Bioenno's got a buy one, get one sale going on for 4.5 amp hour batteries. And I'm like, I don't really need it, but man, buy one, get one. So I got the 4.5 amp hour batteries. While we're talking about batteries, I do have a really important note here. We've all seen that little watt meter that you can buy off Amazon that's got the red and black on each end. Yeah. For those of us who don't read the books, we just do. All real men should. So I never read the books that come with these Bioenno batteries. Finally, one day I was sitting there reading it, and it talked about plug it in, leave it plugged in 4 to 5 hours. I'm like, wait a minute. When I plug in that Bioenno, I noticed the red light comes on, and I would just go unplug it when the light turned green. Yeah, I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. I didn't. So I was talking to my buddy Pat, and he goes, oh, I use this watt meter. He says, but just flip it around backwards, where the source is the charger and the load is the battery. And he says, you'll notice the amps that it's using to charge it, and you can actually watch the amps count down. And when the amps bottom out, you know that your battery's charged without a doubt. And I'm like, oh, that takes all the guesswork out of charging. So now I'll never do it another way. And I think on my YouTube channel, I think I did a post or a short or something where you just post a picture of that watt meter in line. And that worked great. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. It's that time of the podcast that we go to the rapid fire questions, Ed.
Ooh.
So you can only answer in 1 or 2 words for these rapid fire.
All right.
So here we go. Let's go right at it. So current sending words per minute.
18.
18. Paddle, straight key, bug.
I've not. Ooh, one. Paddle.
Paddle. All right. You got the hang of it already. All right. Favorite QRP rig. This is going to be a hard one.
Man, that's wrong.
Yep, it is. I got to pick one.
I'll take my TR45 Pentec.
There you go. TR45 Pentec it is. Even harder question. Favorite key.
I can touch 9 right now.
I know you can.
So I'll just go with the one I use the most. Here at the desk, I have the Bagali HST 3.
Bagali HST 3. All right. POTA activator or hunter?
Activator.
All right. I thought you would say that. Favorite antenna?
Chelegance MC750.
Yeah. Durable antenna. Very, very versatile. Can do a lot of things with it.
I like that it's marked on the whip with the megahertz. So it literally says 14, 7, 18, and you just put it on the mark and go.
Takes all the guesswork out.
Yep.
Last question of the rapid fire. Can you remember your first, second, or third CW contact?
Not really. And it's only because I started with that group early on when I didn't know CW. So I had quite a few CW contacts not knowing CW because I cheated. I wrote dits and das on cards, and I was just making them, especially like the 13 Colony special event. If I couldn't get a guy, I'd switch over to CW, and I would just enough to do my call sign, but I cheated. I had it drawn out on paper, what to do. Yeah.
That's all right. I honestly can't remember my first one either. All right, that ends the rapid fire section of the podcast, but we are going to bring this podcast to a close. But Ed, I do want you to have the opportunity to talk about any of your current projects that you're working on, as well as give some closing advice for everyone on the podcast.
Thank you very much. My current project is I'm working toward a couple key. I have 2 parks that I'm closing in on a kilo. Not necessarily about the kilo, but there's a couple people that are newer coming along that I like to take with me and have them sit at the table with me. And so that's really fun to introduce folks to the hobby that way, or to the CW section of the hobby. Yeah. And to show them, look how long it takes to set up, look how long it takes to get going. So that helps encourage them to get started in CW. Yeah. So that's current project. Advice that I would have, boy, oh boy, oh boy. I recently just started assisting a person who asked for a code buddy, and they're only 5 weeks in. And I jumped on the chance to do that because
absolutely,
we would all love to go back and tell, hey, Ed, don't do that because this is going to be the result. Do it this way instead. But you don't know what you don't know when you're early on.
That's right.
Number 1, don't use a decoder. Don't get started on a decoder. Now, that's for me. I want to send and decode Morse code on my own without having to rely on a decoder for me. Now, if the person doesn't care, okay, then use your decoder. If you can send and receive, that's fine. But for me, if you're trying to learn CW, don't use a decoder if you're trying to learn it. So when you're in the learning phases, I would have to also put down LICW's method of you get on that straight key and you send on that straight key in order to help your brain form those dits and das. You are making them. And then something else, this is an Ed advice, not something I picked up from LIC. I did. When you're doing your practice and you're practicing decoding and you listen to something and you're writing it, let's say you're still at the stage where you're writing, then write it down. Don't move on to your next decoding thing. Listen to it again after you know the answer and do what I call the pencil tap drill. Tap your pencil on the letters as you hear them, just to confirm that's what you're hearing. Because there's 3 different types of copy. There's that, oh my gosh, I don't know what's coming, and you're real tense. And then there's that middle, I know what's coming. Then there's that really relaxed, I know what's coming, let's just confirm it. And by listening after you have the answer and just tapping along on the paper and following it, I think that's a very important part of learning CW2. So do that. So yeah, no decoders, do your practice, stick to that straight key. I'd say that's a good place to start.
And one more, I think you talk about working out with CW. Can you talk about using your muscles with CW muscles?
Okay. For me, I have found that our brain is almost like our muscles. If we were doing an exercise test per se, and I said, hey, person A, B, and C, I'm going to give you a test on this here weight. We're going to lift this 30-pound weight. And I say, but you all get warmed up. I'll be right back and test you. And Ron goes, oh, I got this. Let me get warmed up. I don't want to wear myself out. So he grabs little 1-pound weights and he's warming up. Ed says, well, if we're going to test on 30, I'm going to practice with that 30. Third person says, I'm going to grab this 80-pound weight and warm up with it. Well, when it comes test time, Ron drops that 1-pounder, gets over there, takes the test and goes, ooh, that's a little stiffer than I expected. I jump down there and go, ooh, wow, this is exactly what I expected and a little rough. But the person who worked out with that 80-pound weight, when they test on the 30-pounder, they go, oh, yeah, this is easy. So I think that the CW is the same. Get rid of that Farnsworth. Push your letters faster than you're very comfortable with. If during your practice you're getting all the answers, you need to bump it up. So work out harder so that you can just sit back and enjoy a nice 15-word-a-minute POTA.
Sage advice, Ed. Again, Ed, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm sure the listeners are definitely going to enjoy this episode and all the sage advice you gave throughout it. Ed, 73s, and thanks for being on the podcast.
No, 72 if you're QRP. Thanks, Ron, for having me.
All right, take care, Ed. 72.
72.
Wow, what a great conversation I had with Ed. I want to give a special thank you to Ed for being on the podcast and giving such great advice. Please take a moment, go search for Ed on YouTube, W4EMB, or look for his podcast, The CW Corner, on all podcast platforms. That's all the time we have today. Until next time, 73s.